everyone, I am Razorblade Mango, and welcome to a new section of my YouTube channel called Hidden Gems. Now this is a series that I wanted to do because I've been thinking about doing like a top 10 list of the most underrated, underappreciated games, movies, albums, stuff like that. But top 10 lists, besides the ones that I do for the top 10 best and worst movies at the end of each year, which I find very fun to do, I'd have a hard time coming up with like the sequential order of any of those. So rather than do that, I'd rather just do another series based on this, where I either want to talk about a game or a movie or an album or a book or anything that I feel like is wildly underappreciated, underrated, underseen, underheard, and deserves, in my opinion, to have a much wider recognition worldwide. And of course, to make this very appropriate, the thing that I want to start out with first on this episode 1, is my favorite game of all time. And no, it's not a Kingdom Hearts game. So, yes, there is a game that I love more than any of the Kingdom Hearts games. And those who have played this game are you guys are awesome. I love you guys even more if you've played this game. The game that I'm referring to is called Radiata Stories. Now, this game was released back in 2005 in Japan and in America to somewhat better reviews in Japan than in America. The reason that I got into the game is because I saw a review for it in Game Informer. And that was back in the time when Game Informer for me was like my Bible, where I followed everything that they said and told me to go out and buy. Every time they told me to not buy something, I ended up not buying it. Every time they told me to go purchase a game, I immediately dashed out that door and bought it. And this is one of those games that I immediately went out and bought because I had seen one of the previews for it in an earlier issue, and I thought, wow, that looks pretty badass. That looks cool. I was particularly struck by the art style of the thing, and I wish to God I still had that issue with the preview in it, because I remember distinctly looking at a photo of the two main characters embracing, and I thought, wow, that's a beautiful picture. This game looks really cool. And then the day came where I got the issue that had the review in it, and they actually split. That issue I still have. That is the one issue back in 2005 that I actually kept from Game Informer, because it was like, if I hadn't read that, I probably wouldn't have bought this game. And the game of the year was that game, tied with Burnout Revenge. I actually never went out and bought Burnout Revenge because my attention to Radiata Stories was so enormous based on this one article where they said it was fantastic. They said the art style was like a storybook-esque. The music was amazing. The gameplay was fun. And back then, I was more of a visual person than like a written person. Where these days, I can read something without having pictures and going, ooh, I think I might want this. Back then, I looked at the photos that they had in the issue for it, and I was hooked. I immediately read what the story was about in the review, and I was like, I need to get this game. And thankfully, the very next day after I'd gotten the issue, my cousin took me to my local GameStop, and this is a tradition that we had back then, where every time something, maybe if I had a bad day at school, or if I did something really good, he would take me to a GameStop and buy me a game. As soon as I walked in that door, I remember I was looking at the PlayStation 2 section, and my eyes instantly went to Radiata Stories, and I went, yes, buy me that game, please. So he bought me the game, and he also bought me the strategy guide, because my eyes had kind of been on that as well. And he bought me the strategy guide, he bought me the game. I came home, and I wasn't allowed to play it because it was a school day, and I wasn't allowed to turn on the PlayStation 2 during school days. But the next day, I snuck a peek of the game before I went to school. I put the game in the console, I opened it, and I only had time to watch the opening cinematic, and oh my god, I was immediately just blown away by what I saw. And back then, we didn't have the HD graphics and all the super high-def polygons that you guys have, that we have now. We had to deal with standard definition. And back then, on my crappy old TV that I still have in my living room, it looked freaking phenomenal. Oh my god, it was amazing. And I had discovered Kingdom Hearts before playing Radiata Stories, and back then, my fandom for Kingdom Hearts was significantly lower than what it is today. But I gotta tell you, as soon as I found out about Radiata Stories, who was behind the making of it, it was Tri-Ace. It was a partnership between Tri-Ace and Square Enix. Now, Tri-Ace, a lot of people these days, when they hear the game, they go, oh, that's that Square Enix game. Correction, Square Enix only distributed it. The guys that actually made the game were Tri-Ace, the guys known for the Star Ocean series and Valkyrie Profile. So what's the story of this game? Well, it's set in this kingdom called Radiata that's shared by men and elves. In fact, let me go grab the game and I will read you the exact plot. That is the plot. This is back then when game manuals actually had, like an intro to the story and the characters inside the manual, instead of today where we have to get just the boring ass instructions like, if you have a seizure, don't play this game. No, back then in our manuals, we actually had cool stuff that was actually worthy of it opening up and looking inside. So the story that's listed in the manual is pretty much this. In the center of the world lies the human kingdom of Radiata. People throughout the land sing of its glory. Sharing the world with the humans are the fairy creatures. Dwarves, elves, goblins, and others all lead their different lives. Although they are not exactly friends, humans and non-humans live side by side in harmony. In one small village, a young man named Jack lives with his sister. Dreaming of becoming a great knight like his father before him, he ventures forth one day to try out for the famous Royal Radiata Knights. And I really could not come up with a better summation of the story myself, so I was just going to let the manual do it for me. And from that point on, it basically goes into, it progresses, of course, from simple knight-like adventures to pretty much the climax of the game is to saving the world. But the thing that struck me the most about this game, that I have the most fond memories of, is in fact, it made me feel cool. It made me feel like I had discovered something that I could call my own treasure. Where a lot of people back in the day, like Legend of Zelda is so renowned, and don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic series, and I love most of the games, but it's so popular that a lot of people will come up to you and say, oh yeah, Ocarina of Time was my childhood. Majora's Mask was my childhood. The Wind Waker was my childhood. How many people come up, do you ask, which game made you the gamer that you are today? They will have common answers, of course, like The Legend of Zelda, Mario, Metroid, Grand Theft Auto, stuff like that. My answer is Radiata Stories. It's my own treasure. And it's a game that I instantly found myself connected to. Because it's a world that I find utterly fascinating. Where these different species, and it's not like Star Wars or Star Trek where they have to constantly find, ways of avoiding, not avoiding, but they get along and all that. This is more of a simple storybook narrative, but with these really dark, mature themes of, getting along with people and, negotiating, making the hard decisions. And I love games like that. This is one of the best ones I've seen. And I know this is going to sound kind of childish, but the fact that this game swore this was one of the, because I was a pretty shielded child. This is one of the first T-rated games that I was ever allowed to play openly in my house. And the fact that I could get away with playing a game that said words like crap and damn and hell and screwed up, that made me feel awesome. like I would have friends come over and my mom would be in the background and they would hear words like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" or "Oh, crap," or "Damn it." And they'd be able to go, "Oh, you can actually play that game and your mom go and get mad?" And I would just shake my head and go, "Nope, I'm allowed to play this." And I thought that was fucking awesome. And of course, another thing that I love about this game is, in fact, the art style. The art style, I have been like begging Square Enix for years. I've actually written fan letters to them over the years saying, please make a Radiata Stories HD. You're doing it for Kingdom Hearts. You've done it for Star Ocean. Why won't you do it for Radiata Stories? Well, simple. It's not popular. At least, like, worldwide on the level that Kingdom Hearts and Star Ocean is. Radiata Stories, the art style in this, even on a standard definition TV, is mind-blowing. It's like the most gorgeous anime you've ever seen. And like Game Informer said, it really feels like it's come out of a storybook, which I thought was fucking awesome. There's actually, like, I can pinpoint the moment that I fell in love with the art style of this game. I know Legend of Zelda did this first with the whole day and night cycle. This was the first game I had ever experienced with a day and night cycle in it. Because I admittedly got into Legend of Zelda later in my life, after I discovered Radiata Stories. There was actually a moment, there's a mission near the beginning where you have to go to the Dwarf City. And this was the first time I was ever struck with the idea of there could actually be a day and night cycle in a game. And I stood there on this bridge that I was crossing to get to the dwarf village. And I remember looking at the sun. And the game actually has a clock that you can access at any time. And like the usual 24 minutes in real life is 24 hours in the game. So I just stood there and I looked at the sun. And I stood there for about a minute, 2 minutes. And I actually watched the sun set, and I watched as the moon rose in the game over this large vista. And that was the moment that I truly became the gamer that I am today. I play games for moments of pure beauty and childlike wonder because of shit like that. I mean, it's deep for me. Really super deep. And of course, that's just the beginning of the game. From then on, you had to, like, you go on quests, and this game was unpredictable for me. I love the story in this game, is that I dare not spoil what happens in it, but it takes so many unpredictable turns and twists and turns, and so many, like, plot stuff that I did not see coming. I don't know whether this was me having inexperience with the art of storytelling, but from what I had seen before, and I'd read a lot of fantasy movies, books, sorry. I'd seen a lot of fantasy movies, read a lot of fantasy books, played a lot of fantasy games. I had never seen a game like this before. Because there were moments where I literally, like, gasped, like, oh my god, did that just happen? And it flipped the whole story on its lid, and it just turned into something completely different the whole way through. I loved it. And going back and reading the Game Informer article, they said it's a predictable story. So maybe that was just me back then, like I said, having inexperience with the art of storytelling, but I had never seen anything like it before back then. It blew my mind. And also, I love these characters. I love the main character, Jack, who's just, he's one of those typical video game characters that goes from being a stubborn, likable jackass to being a mature young adult. But he was hilarious. Like, even, this is one of the best English dubs I have ever seen for a game that was originally in Japanese. And This is one of the few times that, with the exception also of Kingdom Hearts, that I would ever want to play a JRPG with the English dub on. Because I can't imagine playing this game without it. The comic timing of these scenes and the dramatic weight that comes from these voice actors are incredible. If I were to ever make an animated movie, like a big budget animated movie, I would hunt down the actors that played most of these roles, and I would beg them to be in my movie. I'd be like, please, you did such a great job as Jack. Please please voice the main character in my movie. But like I said, there is funny dialogue. This is a game that, unlike the trap that Final Fantasy kind of falls into a lot, is that it takes itself way too goddamn seriously. And don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy kicks ass. It's just sometimes they do not acknowledge the silliness behind it all, and they don't make it fun or have a sense of humor about it. This game has a sense of humor, but it's not in an insulting kind of way. It balances out really well with the dramatic elements, and it just feels like an all-rounded, really funny, really enjoyable game, and a story because of this. I mean, I'm still quoting lines from this game. I'll put my favorite comedy scene. I'll try to find it on YouTube, and I'll put the link down in the description section, so you guys can see the sense of humor related to this game. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon, but it's a Saturday morning cartoon that is actually very well written, very smart, and very funny. Another thing that I love about this game is the music by Noriyuki Iwadare, who is I don't think I've ever heard another composition by this guy, but this soundtrack is a masterpiece. It took me forever to find a decent copy of it that didn't cost like an insane amount of money because of imports. I have the soundtrack on my iPod. I unfortunately do not have the CD anymore. I don't know what that... I'm still angry at myself today for losing the CD to it. God, if someone can direct me to Radiata Stories that's like reasonably priced for an original soundtrack CD format, please let me know. I'm dying to find another one. It's gorgeous. It's diverse. It's moody. It's funny. It's very fucking catchy. There's some, like when I'm walking in the morning, there's a certain beat that I have to play in order to like get myself, pepped up and in the mood. I don't want to play it because I'm afraid Tri-Ace or Square Enix will claim my video. But I'll put it in the description section below. But all of these elements together combined, like the story and the music and just the nostalgic factor to it, this is my favorite game of all time. And there won't be another game that I think is better. As much as I love Kingdom Hearts to death, especially 2, because 2 is my favorite game. If Radiata Stories didn't exist, Kingdom Hearts 2 would be my favorite game of all time. But if it wasn't for that damn Little Mermaid level and those damn Demyx clone battles in Kingdom Hearts 2, that would be my favorite game of all time. But for now, it's it's Radiata Stories. So if you guys still have your PlayStation 2, because it's only available on PlayStation 2, go out and buy this game. Please, go to your local, like, if you have a pawn shop that specializes in selling classic video games, like from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Nintendo 64, hunt down this game, go on Amazon and buy it. I think it's something like $13, $14, $15. Totally worth it. I had to pay $50, well, my cousin had to pay $50 back in the day for it. But yeah, this is so worth having, especially if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, if you're a fan of like Final Fantasy, if you've played Star Ocean before or Valkyrie Profile and never played Radiata Stories, this is a must play. Also, Resonance of Fate. If you played that game for the 360, Tri-Ace did that as well. You need to hunt down and find Radiata Stories. Play the shit out of it. It's a one-of-a-kind, wonderful game. I honestly don't have enough good words for it. It's just, in my eyes, it's almost perfect to me. And I'm so glad. If it wasn't for Game Informer, I would never have discovered this game. And it would still be one of those games that I eventually come across researching other games on the internet where I go, huh, that looks cool. And then it instantly leaves my mind. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to play this. And I own it. And I am never selling it. I still have my strategy guide for it. That looks all beat up. The binder is all screwed up. And yet, I can't let go of it. Because it just brings back so many fond memories of searching through every nook and exploring every nook and cranny of this game. There's even a bonus. There's like a huge bonus world after you beat the game that is for like the toughest players. Explore this place and you'll come across bosses that you never saw in the game before. So that alone adds to the replayability beyond being the story. And this game, not only does it have that, it has 2 different endings. And I know that's common these days. But back then, it actually splits right in the middle point of the story. There's 2 different paths you can go down on. I had never seen anything like that back in the day. I mean, it's common now to have multiple endings, to have multiple branching stories. But back then, it was like another just revolutionary thing to me. Where it's like, oh shit, I actually have to choose between one or the other things? And this decision will impact the entire game? Holy crap! So, that alone is worth playing, games worth playing twice. And collecting all the weapons, all the armor, which the armor is fucking awesome in this game. The art design is beautiful. The combat system is wonderful. I love that you actually customize like the different attacks you can do. You can make your own combos. And the bosses are actually kind of hard. Like, it's a challenging game where, especially some of, like, the more... Oh, and that's another damn thing why did I forget this? You can make up to, like, 150 friends in this game. Like, 175. Over 175 people you can recruit to be your friends, and you can form teams in the game of these like likable, diverse cast of characters. Some are funny, some are tragic, some are serious, but they all are interesting. And the sad thing with me is that I wish if I was like in control of Square Enix or a famous like anime filmmaker, I would buy all the rights to this game, this series, and I would just keep on making like game after game after game of Radiata Stories. I even have written my own fan fiction. I don't write fan fiction. I don't like fan fiction, but I'm such a fucking dork for this game, and I want to promote it so much and keep the story going. I've actually written fan fiction based on this game. I've been trying to write a sequel to this game for years, and I'm still doing it. But like not to get it published or anything, but just so I can read it and just feel immersed in the warmth and comfort and awesomeness that this series has brought me throughout almost 10 years of my life. Literally almost 10 years. It will be 9 years in September. But if I was ever like I said, if I was ever in control of Square Enix or Tri-Ace or a famous anime filmmaker, if I was in control of the game companies, I would make sequel after sequel after sequel. This would be an even bigger hit. This would be in my own dream world, this would be an even bigger worldwide sensation than fucking Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts. That is how much I love this game. I want it to be an even bigger success than Kingdom Hearts. I want it to have that status that Kingdom Hearts has now. And I am jealous. As much as I'm part of the fandom of Kingdom Hearts, I'm jealous that Kingdom Hearts has this fandom, but this series, Radiata Story, does not. That kind of pisses me off. No ill will towards Kingdom Hearts. And if I was a famous anime filmmaker like Miyazaki or Isao Takahata or the guy that did The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, I would beg Square Enix and Tri-Ace to let me take their game and maybe make a sequel to it in movie format. I would make my own anime out of it. I would make an anime out of this game. I would make this enormous world bigger than it is in the game. I would have so many different backstories and layers and all that. I would go crazy with this world. I would make I wouldn't be able to let go. I'd be like The Simpsons. I wouldn't know when to end. Because I would just keep making it and making it and making it and making it, because I want this series to live on forever. When the aliens come down and wipe out most of humanity, I want the aliens to be playing this game as well. Because this, to me, is a real treasure. And I will promote this game for the rest of my life, because it is the game that made me the gamer that I am today. So, man, thank you, Square Enix. Thank you, Tri-Ace. Make a sequel, for God's sakes. Make a sequel to Radiata Stories. It's the best game ever for me. This is my Legend of Zelda. This is my Mario. It's the game that made the gamer who I am today. So, naturally, and this is just the first episode. I have a lot of games I could talk about that I feel like are underrated. There's a lot of movies I feel like that are underrated, just like Radiata Story. So please, if you are listening to my show, if you trust my opinion, go out and support Radiata Stories. And if you've played Radiata Stories before and you still have it, go back to that. Go hook up that PlayStation 2 again. Play this game again. Because this game is amazing. I love it to death. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. I'm definitely going to be doing more of these videos because I want to get out there and promote the stuff now that I have a YouTube channel. If you played the game before, awesome. Let me know your favorite memories of it. Let me know your favorite characters, favorite scenes. I want to know, because I want to be in the middle of I want this game to have I want there to be a Radiata Stories renaissance. I do. And I want to be that guy that gets the ball rolling. I want this community on YouTube to rediscover this game and get the ball rolling on a Radiata Stories renaissance. And I cannot stress this enough. This is the game that made me a gamer. This is the one. Not Kingdom Hearts. Not Grand Theft Auto. Not any other game I can think of. This beautiful, pure, astonishing masterpiece. This amazing work of art. Bless you, Radiata Stories. Bless you.